Hello everyone. As we know, we have been studying about the earth pressure chapter. And in this chapter, we have discussed many topics like active earth pressures, passive earth pressures, pressure at rest. We have also talked about the Rankins theory, Rankins assumptions for active earth pressures, and the different cases given by the Rankins. We have talked about the 5 cases, right, for the cohesionless backfill. So now we shall talk about the another topic, that is the Coulomb wedge theory. So let us see what Coulomb has said. Instead of considering the equilibrium of an element within a mass of the material, Coulomb considered the equilibrium of the whole of the material supported by a retaining wall when the wall is on the point of moving slightly away from the filling. That means we have been considering the active earth pressure or active state. That means movements away from the field, right? So what point is there? You can see the Rankins has considered for the derivation of the formula, he has considered soil element behind the backfill, right? Whereas the Coulomb has considered the whole of the materials behind the retaining walls, right? So the wedge theory of the earth pressure is based on the concept of sliding wedge, which is a turn off from the rest of the backfill on movement of the wall. So active state conditions already we have discussed. That means the movement of the wall away from the field, right? So here in the wedge theory, the Coulomb, or we can say Coulomb wedge theory, we are going to discuss about the concept of the sliding wedge, right? So Coulomb has considered many things which has not been considered in the Rankins theory. You can see factors such as wall friction, irregular soil surface, and different soil strata can be easily be taken into account in this method. Whereas the Rankins says that the backfill of the wall or back of the wall should be smooth, right? And the surface should be horizontal. It should not be irregular, right? So difference is there in the Coulomb theory and the Rankine theory. So what are the assumptions given by the Coulombs, right? So following are the basic assumptions or the limitations of the Coulomb theory or the wedge theory. So let us see the assumptions. We shall also discuss about this figure, right, in the different slides. So you can see the first assumptions given by the Coulomb. If the backfill is dry, see this, you can see this is the back face of the retaining wall, which is inclined. That means AB is the back face of the retaining wall, which is inclined. And these are the backfill materials. So the backfill is dry, cohesionless, homogeneous, isotropic, and elastically undeformable, but breakable. Breakable means it is going to break in the form of a wedge. Granular materials, we are considering the cohesionless soil, possessing internal friction, but not cohesions. That means we have been studying about the cohesionless backfill. Definitely, only angle of shearing resistance will be there, and the angle, this cohesion will not be there. So next assumption, the slip surface is plane, which passes through the heel of the wall. You can see the BC is the slip plane or slip surface, okay, which passes from the heel of the wall. This is the AB, the back face of the retaining wall. Then next assumption, the sliding wedge itself act as a rigid body. The ABC is the sliding wedge, which act as a rigid body, and the value of earth pressure is obtained by considering the limiting equilibrium of the sliding wedge as a whole. So you can see the ABC. On this ABC, the W is the weight, and PA is the active earth pressures, and R is the reaction. So we are going to consider the limiting equilibrium of these three forces, PA, W and R, right? So sliding wedge, this is the sliding wedge, ABC the sliding wedge. So value of the earth pressure means PA is obtained by considering the limit equilibrium of the sliding wedge. Now we can see the next assumption. The position and direction of the resultant earth pressures are known. Resultant earth pressure, PA is the resultant earth pressure. The resultant earth pressures acts on the back of the wall. Back of the wall, see the back side of the wall we can see at the height h/3, right? 1/3 of the height of the wall from the base and is inclined at angle delta. You can see delta at the PA is the position and direction of the resultant earth pressures, passive earth pressure or passive, is what we can say, active active earth pressures, right? This is the active earth pressures. So it is inclined at angle delta. Delta is the angle of this wall frictions, which is normal to the back. So PA is inclined normal to the back at the angle delta. So this assumption means that the pressure distribution is hydrostatic or is triangular. So whenever we are going to draw the pressure distribution diagram for the PA, we shall get it triangular pressure distribution diagram. The back of the wall is rough, right? And a relative movement of the wall and the swell on the back takes place, which develops frictional forces that influence the direction of the resultant pressures. So once the movement of the wall takes place in the left-hand side or left-hand direction, left side direction, what is going to happen? It is going to influence the resultant pressures, that the PA is going to be influenced. So now we shall see the next assumption. The back of the wall can be inclined to the vertical. You can see this is the vertical and it is inclined at angle theta. The force acting on the wedge of the swell. So what are the forces which acts on the wedge of the swell? Wedge means ABC is the wedge. The weight W, reaction R, right? And along the plane of the sliding. The sliding plane is the BC is the sliding plane on which the reaction R acts, and active thrust PA against the retaining wall. It acts here. So three forces are there. R will act an angle phi to the normal to the plane of the sliding. You can see here the R is acting at angle phi with the normal. Now that normal means normal to this the slip plane BC on the BC. So at angle phi, and the pressure PA is inclined at angle of wall friction delta to the normal. You can see the PA is inclined at delta to the normal, which is considered positive. Both R and PA will be inclined in the direction so as to oppose the movement of the wedge, because this wedge, the weight of the wedge ABC, that is the weight of the wedge, wants to move downward and outward, but the PA and the R wants to restrict it, right? Wants to oppose it. So now we shall discuss the points, condition of maximum pressure from a sliding wedge. You see, the ABC is the sliding wedge. At what time, under what circumstances, or we can say under what condition the PA is going to be maximum, that we are going to talk here. PA under what circumstances, at what condition this PA will be highest. Now we can see the BD shows a plane. You can see the BD, right? Dotted line. BD shows a plane inclined at angle phi to the horizontal, which is at which the swell is expected to stay in the absence of any lateral support. What does it mean? This is this BD line. You can see the BD line. It is inclined at angle phi. So no retaining wall is required for this slope, right? If the plane is inclined or the slope is inclined, suppose slope is the inclined as at angle phi, no retaining wall is required, right? Because it will retain itself, right? BD shows a plane, that's why it incline an angle horizontal to this wall, expected to stay in the absence of any lateral support. No lateral support is required for at the angle phi. The BD line is called as phi line. We can also see here the line BD, therefore, is called the natural slope line. BD, we can see the natural slope line or response line or the phi line. So no support is required. It is going to sustain this BD line or the natural slope. Suppose BD is a natural slope, it is going to sustain naturally, right? For that, there is no retaining wall is required for the control of sliding. So next, you can see AD is inclined at angle beta. The AD is the incline at beta, which is called ground line or the surcharge line. This is the AD. Plane BC is inclined at angle delta. So this is the slip plane. So this lambda, angle lambda, right, to be determined. This BC line is called a S line or rupture line or slip plane. All out of three, any name we can speak, like S line or rupture line or the slip plane. The angle lambda is called the critical slip angle. You can see at phi, no support is required. But as the angle increases, suppose it is lambda, so we are going to assume the BC is a slip plane. That means the backfill materials, right, may cause the movement away from the field if this angle is going to become lambda. That is the slip plane. So reaction R inclined at, you can see the reaction R is inclined at angle phi to the normal to the slip plane. Phi normal to the slip plane. And R is also inclined at lambda minus phi to the vertical, Vertical means the W. W is coming down, working downward direction. So the R is also inclined at angle lambda minus phi with the vertical, and it is also inclined at angle phi to normal to the slip plane BC. The wall reaction PA is inclined at angle delta to the normal. That also I told you earlier. The inclination of PA to the vertical, is represented by an angle psi. This you can see the forced triangle. The PA with the vertical is also represented by angle psi, and psi is equal to 90 minus theta minus delta. So theta is the angle with the vertical. You can see here theta, and lambda is delta is the friction angle, right? The PA is at angle delta with the normal. So what we can see here, we can see the forced triangle, which is shown in figure B. The value of PA depends upon the slip angle lambda, right? The PA depends upon the angle lambda. Lambda means, you can see this is the lambda. So this BC is the slip plane. Okay. So as the lambda is increasing, the PA is also increasing. You can see, because this is the critical plane, right? But if this PA is zero, that means no lateral of pressure is required when lambda is equal to phi. The lambda is equal to phi means it is going to become the natural slope BD. No, the PA is also going to become zero. That means no retaining wall or no horizontal pressure is required, because the lambda is going to become equal to phi, which is the phi is at the natural slope. So in order to derive the condition for maximum active earth pressure, PA is the maximum active earth pressure, from this sliding wedge, draw a line CE. Let us draw a line CE at angle psi to the phi line. As you know, this is the phi line, or this is also called as M line, which length is M. So the psi to the line BD or phi line. So let X and N be the perpendicular. X is the perpendicular and N is also perpendicular, right? From C and A, from the phi line. On this phi line, these are the perpendiculars. And M be the length of the BD. M is the length of the BD. So it will be seen that triangle BCE, this triangle, you can see BCE, and the fourth triangle, both are similar. That means BCE and these four triangles are similar. So in that case, what we can write, PA by W is equal to C by BE, because these triangles and the BC are the similar. That's why we are going to write PA by W, or PA by CE is equal to W by B. Like that also we can write. So PA is equal to W into C by B. This is the C and the B, right? So now we can see C is equal to, you can see CE is equal to, C is inclined and psi. So C is equal to what we can write? S cosec psi. This is the X is the perpendicular, right? And C is the hypotenuse at angle psi, and this is 90 degree. Okay. So what we can write? C we can write X cosec psi, right? So psi is fixed, psi is constant. So we are going to assume cos psi is equal to A1, which is the constant. So we can write A1x. CE is equal to A1x. Similarly, we can write BE is equal to, you can see BE, B, how much we can write? B is equal to BD minus ED. Like that also we can write. BE is equal to BD minus ED. So further, BD minus ED we can write, you can see the ED, FD minus FE. Like that also we can write. So BD is equal to M. The value of already we have discussed in the previous slide. BD is equal to M. And ED, we are going to write FD minus FE. So FD is equal to, we can see FD, this is phi minus beta. So the FD, how much we can write? FD we can write cot phi minus beta. So this is at 90 degree. So FD is the base and CD is the hypotenuse. Okay. And this is perpendicular. This is perpendicular. This is the base. So the FD will be equal to cot phi minus beta, and FE is equal to minus cot psi. This is at angle psi. So this is FE is equal to base, and this is the height, and this is the C is the hypotenuse. So FE we can write x cot psi, x cot psi. Here x cot phi minus beta, FD we can write. So further, this is constant. You can see this cot phi minus beta, phi, beta, and psi are the constant. So we can write in place of this value, we can write A2. So A2 is equal to cot phi minus beta minus cot psi is equal to constant. So M minus A2x we can write the equation. Now C we have calculated, B also we have calculated. W, how we can calculate W? W is the weight of the wedge ABC. So the area of the triangle we have to know, and per unit length. So we can find out the volume. Volume into density will give the weight of the wedge. So further, this triangle ABC per unit length, we can also write ABD, triangle ABD minus BCD will be equal to ABC, right? That means this ABT triangle minus BCD triangle. We shall get the values of ABC. So now we can, what we can write further? So W is equal to gamma. Triangle ABD, you can see A, B, and D. What we can write? The height is N at 90 degree. So as you know, the area of the triangle is equal to 1 by 2 base into height. So M is the base and height is the N. So 1 by 2 into M into N minus 1 by 2, and BCD, in case of BCD, we can write height is X and the M is the base. So 1 by 2 M into X. So if you are going to simplify, we shall get this value. Substituting the values of CE, BE, and W in equation 1, this is the equation 1 which we have seen. And on what basis this equation has been written? As you know, the angle BCE and the forced triangles are similar. That's why we have written PA is equal to W into C by B. So further, if you are going to substitute the values of these three values, W, C, and B, we shall get this value, because W already, we have got this equation 4. We can write here C is equal to A1x and B is equal to M minus A2x. So we can simplify it. So we can see here the lateral earth pressure PA depends upon the X. Here all the parameters are the constant. Density is also constant, AM, the A1, A2, and all are constant, but only X is the variable. That is written here in the above expression. X is the only variable which depends upon the position of the slip plane BC. See, this is the X, right? So BD is the natural plane or phi line. This is phi line natural plane, which does not need any support, right? So, but if X is going to become 0, there is a chance of failures. There is a chance of there is a chance of failures, right? BC is the slip plane. So what we can write, when we are going to differentiate the lateral earth pressure with respect to X, right? And if it is going to become 0, then definitely the lateral earth pressure will be maximum. Lateral earth pressure will be maximum when you are going to differentiate the dPA by dx is equal to 0. That means X is going to touch the BC line. So if X is this line, BD line, let us see. If the BD line is going to touch the BC line, the PA will experience more pressures, right? But you can see if lambda is equal to phi, in that case, the PA is going to become, does not feel any stresses. That means PA will become 0, as we have seen in the previous slide. So if you are going to differentiate the equations, we can get this value, because this value already we have found out. So therefore, n minus 2x into m minus a2x, we can write like this way. You can solve this equation, which will be equal to this. So further, if you are going to, as we know, b is equal to m minus a2x, so divide by 2 on both the side, left hand side and right hand side. So mn by 2 minus mx by 2 is equal to x into b by 2. So mn by 2 is nothing but is the triangle ABD, okay, ABD, and mx by 2 is equal to triangle BCD, okay. So which is equal to x into b by 2. X is the height and BE by 2. So for this BCE, in place of BC, this is triangle BCE. So we can write this equation like this way. So if we are going to delta ABD, the ABD minus BCD is equal to ABC, okay. So ABC is equal to BCE, we can see. So thus the criteria for maximum earth pressure is that the slip plane is so chosen that delta AB, this ABC, or triangle, sorry, not triangle ABC is equal to triangle BCE. If both these triangles are equal, at that time, the lateral pressure will be high. We can get the maximum active earth pressures, okay? So this idea has been credited, Revhan has been credited for this criteria, presented this criteria. Which criteria? That means triangle ABC and BC will be equal, then the PA will be maximum. So this is the idea of the Coulomb-Lewis theory. Now we shall see what are the difference between, this question is also asked, what are the difference between the Coulomb's theory and the Rankine's theory? So we can write, instead of considering the equilibrium of an element within the mass of a materials, Coulomb's consider the equilibrium of the whole of the materials supported by a retaining wall. What does it mean? Rankins considers, see, Rankins has for the cohesionless backfill, Rankins has discussed 5 cases, okay? But he has considered the element for the derivation of the formula or to find out the lateral earth pressure on the retaining wall. He has considered the element behind the retaining wall or inside the within the backfill. But whereas the Coulomb has considered the whole of the material supported by the retaining wall. So this is the difference, right? The next difference we can see, Coulomb takes into account the friction between the wall and the backfill, while Rankine does not. Rankine says the back of the wall is smooth, okay? The backfill surface may be plane or curved in case of Coulomb theory. This facility is there. The backfill of the, as per the Coulomb's theory, the backfill surface will be either maybe the plane or curved. But Rankine says, no, it should only be the plane surface. This is also a difference. The next difference we can see, Coulomb's theory is more versatile than the Rankine's theory. We can use for any type, any conditions. Coulomb's theory can be used for any condition, whereas these Rankines cannot be used for every conditions. Hence, it can take into account any shape of the backfill surface. So, next one, the Rankine's theory is relatively simple and hence is more commonly used, while Coulomb theory is more rational and versatile, although cumbersome. It is somewhat complicated. So, this is all about your today topic. Thank you very much.